Thank you. Everybody can hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay. It just went on. It went on and off. Okay. It's Thursday night at 6:30 p.m., January 17th, in the year of 2019. So I welcome everyone to the Village Council meeting this evening, and I'd like you to start by joining us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, as I said, welcome to everyone. This is our first meeting of the new year, and we're starting off the year with a very special acknowledgement and recognition of some very courageous and talented young men in our village, with some very courageous and talented coaches. We're here tonight to recognize the accomplishments of our Pop Warner champions, Royal Palm Beach Junior Pee-wees, ages 8 through 10. I want to share with you what they had to endure to achieve this outstanding achievement. They had to go through a qualifying round. Well, first of all, they had the regular season. In their regular season, they went 7-1, okay? I don't know how you guys could lose that game, but that's okay. 7-1 is good. They went on the road to the national championship after they finished the regular season. They had to go through the qualifying rounds. And in that qualifying round, they defeated Palm Beach Gardens Orange 34-0.
Wow.
They defeated, wait a minute, they weren't finished with Palm Beach Gardens, right? They also defeated Palm Beach Gardens White 24-0. So that game was a little closer, I guess, right? They went on to defeat West Chase. Is that spelled right? Yeah. West Chase, up in Tampa, 18-17. That sounds like it was more of a defensive battle there, no?
18-6.
Is that a typo?
It says 18-7 here. 18-7. 18-7? Okay. And then they went down to Weston, and they defeated Weston 34-8 to become the Southeast Regional Champions.
That's the team that defeated us in the regular season.
That was a one loss? Oh. Well, you won the game that counted. That's right. You won the game that counted. Then they moved on to the national championship round up in Walt Disney World. If any of you have never been up there, it's an incredible, incredible place where they have championship basketball, football, soccer, and baseball. I spent a lot of time up there with my son Ryan in baseball. So it's a tremendous experience for the kids to go through. And having gone through it once and coming out on top, I got a feeling you guys might be going up there again. I don't know, right? Right. Anyway, in the national championship round up at Walt Disney World, in round one, they defeated Coastal Wilmington, North Carolina, 33-13. Wow. They went on to the semifinals and defeated Brick City, New Jersey. This is a team that came all the way down from up north, 19-12. That sounds like an interesting game there, right? And then finally, in the championship game, they defeated Far West Arizona. Boy, did they travel a lot to lose. They defeated them 34-0. What an outstanding job. I don't know if all of your coaches are here, but I'd like them to just stand just to be recognized, starting out with their head coach, Sam Curry. Assistant coaches include Shalo Amilka. I hope I got the name close. Okay. Dominique Fusca. Brandon Garland. Is that here? Okay. He missed the bus, huh? But here's the person I think that we really need to give a hand to, because believe me, I remember when my son was playing Pop Warner 8-10, what it was like on the sidelines, keeping these kids focused and keeping them in line and giving them the orange drink, the orange slices, Gatorade. We have to give a big hand to the team mom, Marjorie Garland. She's not here either? All right, now, I'm sorry then, if they're not here in the next 10 seconds, they're gonna miss the photo op. But on behalf of the Village Council and the Village of Royal Palm Beach, we are very proud of you. I'd just like to say to you and to our citizens that the Pop Warner football program here in the village is something we initiated, I'm going to think about 12 years ago. And we had to put some investment into making that happen. We had, I would say, about a $400,000, what we call one-time, get the fields fixed, get some facilities built investment. And on an annual basis, we have to allocate about $175,000 a year to make sure those fields are in shape and all the other things that must be done. So we are very committed, and we have been committed in that way for the last 12 years. We will continue to be committed that way. But you are the first, all right, to go all the way to make your village proud. So once again, thank you so much. Now, get the cameras ready because it's photo op time. Village Council will join me. Come on up. We're going to figure, whoever's taking the pictures will tell us how to stand. Come on.
All right.
You got we're gonna get behind you. You got me up.
Good job. Wait, Charles.
Wait, Jan's not looking. Okay, go ahead.
Can you stand up? Once again, I'd just like to say congratulations to the coaches, to the players, to the parents.
Absolutely.
I'm sure the parents are so very proud. And believe me, I know what it's like tugging your kid around and have to make all of these trips, and I know it costs you money and it's not free. Been there, done that. I truly understand, but your heart is very warmed by the success of these kids and what they've learned. I'm sure this was a tremendous learning year for them to go from the beginning of the season. Sometimes teams don't know how to live with success. It's an interesting dilemma, but obviously you overcame that. And I'd like to also say we thank you so much to the coaches. We know that you do this on a voluntary basis, and you give your time and your passion and your skill. And our young kids here are the benefactor of that, and the village as a whole. As I said, you've made it proud. So thank you so much again. We're very, very proud of you. Now, I'll give you 2 minutes if you all want to leave, or not. You can stay for the rest of the meeting. So it's your call. If you want to leave, I'll give you 2 minutes.
So you know you got homework.
We're going to adjourn for 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
Really? Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Great job, guys.
You're so cute.
Gardens is good. They got had some really good teams up there.
Well, they had 2 teams in
I
that
think
division.
one of the Gardens team,
Yeah.
well, I think
That doesn't surprise me. Gardens,
I think the age bracket above them won the national championship up there too.
Up in Gardens?
Yeah, in Gardens.
Wow.
So like the 12 to
Well, they had to go through 2 Gardens teams. So
They're good.
that says something. Okay, we're going to reconvene our meeting now. And we're going to start off with reports. And I guess my only report is just to say a shout out and congratulations to Councilman Relenters and Councilwoman Radusky on being reelected. So great job. We're glad. And now we just move forward and focus on the job, right? We don't have to worry about the election cycle. But congratulations. And with that, I think we'll start with you, Jan.
Terrific. Good evening, everyone. On Monday, we have the 17th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration with our local Caribbean American for Community Involvement organization. Always a wonderful event taking place at the Cultural Center.
The new Cultural Center.
New Cultural Center, if
New
you haven't
spectacular
seen it,
cultural
that's right. Starting at 8:45 with the Continental Breakfast, and then the event starts at 10. Lovely entertainment throughout the morning, and if you can attend, we'd love to see you there. Also, with January comes tax preparation, right? So, and I'm glad we have some representatives of our senior referral program. So United Way offers the Taxes Filed for Free program, and if you go on unitedwaypbc.org/taxes, you'll get all the information. But essentially, United Way offers free filing for folks at certain income brackets, and they'll be doing assistance at our recreation center beginning on the 28th, going through the 15th. And there are several times throughout the day and week on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So share that with your folks who may need it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me add my congratulations to my 2 fellow council members. It was a tough campaign, but it was a good one.
Yeah.
The great outcome was perfect. I did a little experiment in transportation issues in the county, and it was just before this meeting. I didn't realize I was going to do that, but I was on my way back from Florida Atlantic University Jupiter campus, and I found out once again that if you're on the turnpike, almost anything can happen. And so I just barely made it to the meeting, as a matter of fact. Allowed myself plenty of time. So for anybody who doubts that we have transportation issues, I invite you onto the roads at about this time, plus or minus a couple of hours, and
You want a turnpike?
you will experience it. Yes,
Okay.
the turnpike was stop and go, and fortunately I made it. The reason I was up there was Palm Beach County League of Cities had their opportunity to meet with the Palm Beach County legislative delegation, all of our state representatives and state senators, and talk about the upcoming session and what our priorities are from a League of Cities point of view, and therefore trying to represent all 39 cities. We of course talked about home rule, and well, we should. The feedback we're getting on the new leadership in both the House, that would be the new Speaker of the House, Jose Oliva, and the Senate, the new President of the Senate, Bill Galvano. Both seem to have the same orientation as their predecessors with regard to preemption and home rule and lessening our control over decision-making and that kind of thing locally. So we always talk about home rule and having to defend home rule and having to explain it to our constituents and getting all the voters to line up behind us and trying to keep the decision-making closest to the voters, which is us. There are clearly issues at a high level that do need to be dealt with at state, but we talked about a couple that we really didn't feel needed to be. Now, some of these don't really directly affect us here in Royal Palm Beach at this point in time. One of them is the Community Redevelopment Agency. We don't have a CRA, but CRAs are really important when you have blighted areas, areas that need some help and need governmental intervention. And that has been an area that there has been a lot of preemptive action taken in previous sessions, and it looks like that's going to happen again this time around. Another one is vacation rentals, and that's your neighbor or the owner of the property next door to you, perhaps turning it into a B&B or
Airbnb, yeah.
yeah, and it can become problematic for neighborhoods and that type of thing. And we're trying to hold on to the ability to regulate the short-term rentals as much as we possibly can. We think it's in the best interest of the neighborhoods and the community. Another one we talked about was opioid substance abuse. And we asked for continued support, more resources to come in that area. Palm Beach County, of course, has had, we've been referred to as the epicenter of a problem, and also a easy referral for addicts and treatment. Unfortunately, the treatment cycle hasn't really worked out well. The good news is that with the task force that was funded by the state and was run by our state attorney, we have actually seen a reduction in the number of deaths this past year, but any one death is more than we would want to see. So continuing the resources was a request. Sober homes. Sober homes are that halfway houses that can pop up in a neighborhood again, and looking for more help at state level to try to give us some authority to regulate, or they take the authority and regulate, at least requiring registration so we know where they are. And that's been an ongoing effort, and we're making small advances in each one of those areas, and so we just encourage our state representatives and senators to continue the work in that area. Another one that's even a longer term kind of an issue, and that's water quality and quantity. As we look at the growth that we're experiencing here in Florida, which I've seen estimates of both 900 and 1,000 new people coming every day to Florida, and in a year that results in the equivalent of the population of a city like Tampa, increasing our population. So with that comes demands for services, things like water and sewer and things of that nature. And so that combined with the quality issue, which we've heard about with the blue-green algae and red tide, are areas that we encourage the state legislators to continue to focus on, and to focus on it in a more continuous way. This has been, if you look back across the history of bills, there have been a lot of bills that have attempted to put money and effort in place, and the effort would last only a couple of years, and that's not long enough to deal with an issue like this. And so one of the bills that we were told was going to be put before the House and the Senate this year was a bill that would provide a more continuous recurring source of funding, a substantial amount of money, several $billions, toward taking care of our water quality and water quantity issues that we have in this country, or in this state. So that was another area that we talked about. One other one was transportation, and that was an uncomfortably short conversation. It was put out there, and on everything else, we had a dialogue back and forth between the senators and representatives and those of us who were representing the League of Cities. That one was just, I had to check to make sure my mic was on. I couldn't believe we didn't get any kind of response on that at all. That's very unfortunate. I think that's a growing problem. And the last one was a discussion on effective growth management, which really came down to something that's referred to as involuntary annexation. And the involuntary annexation and the way that whole thing is approached. There were several requests made. One was, we talk about enclaves. The current definition, if I understand it, and our village manager can correct me on this if I got it wrong, is an enclave has to be surrounded by a single municipality. And the request was, and we've actually had this experience here, is to change the enclave definition so that it could qualify as an enclave, and therefore put us in a position where annexation could be done, even if it was more than one municipality surrounding it. And so that was a good discussion, and hopefully we'll see some support in that area. Interesting, the most significant thing is I think we're going to see more of the same attitude toward pulling up a lot of the decision-making to the state level, and that's going to require us to stay in contact with our local representatives and also to make some trips, I think, to Tallahassee to make sure that we keep the decision-making down here where we really understand the differences of each one of our municipalities' requirements and what works best for all of us. So looks like that's going to be a continuing fight again this year. One really good thing, and it'll depend on how well it plays out, was the new governor, Governor DeSantis, said took 3 days to get to an executive order with regard to water quality, and the environment. So there looks like, at least at that level, there is a serious amount of push that's going to take place right from the beginning. So that looks like a good thing.
I got a question. The legislators, representatives that were there at the meeting, was there a sentiment that they agree with the cities? We should continue our own home rule, or were they wishy-washy on the subject?
My sense was there were two messages I got from them. One was that it all depends on what the issue is. That is, if it's tree trimming, yeah, maybe they're okay with us keeping that. Now this isn't uniform, because usually you get one or two of the delegation members will speak, so you don't know what the other ones are thinking either. In general, my sense is, yeah, they recognize and agree that each municipality is unique and therefore probably best situated to make calls on certain regulatory kind of decisions. The other message I got was, but you guys have a responsibility here, so it can't all be on us. So we talked a little bit about things like converting from septic tanks to public sewer. And the conversation went to the large cost, and then it went immediately to matching and shared, and you all have responsibilities for that as well. So that was a very clear message to me, that there is this view that we have responsibilities. Where those responsibilities are, I think, gives us a talking point when it comes time to argue against taking control and pulling it up to Tallahassee. So again, it usually comes down to what the specific issue is that they're talking about: vacation rentals, CRAs, tree trimming, God help us.
It's a laundry list of issues. Is the League of Cities going to do anything further to push out, the city's position on this? Especially after having this meeting and getting very lukewarm kind of treatment.
Well, I think first of all, Florida League of Cities has still this in place, as we did. We refer to the home rule issue, that is trying to maintain our decision-making at this level, as being an overarching issue. And again, while we put out these specific examples because we were asked for those, and we were told, okay, home rule is kind of a general thing. Be specific. What are you talking about? And that's why the vacation rentals was offered up and CRA was offered up as two examples of decision-making authority that we want to retain at our level. The follow-on to that is on a case-by-case, bill-by-bill basis, where there seems to be an attempt to preempt, as the phrase is used. Yeah. We're supposed to be going after that. My take is that the attitude varies with individual delegation member, and also with the issue, depending on what it is. So
okay,
it's going to be one of those pay attention
one of those years,
kind of thing. It feels like
sure.
it. So.
Okay, thanks, John. Richard.
No reports, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening. I attended the monthly business forum meeting, and there were two topics that were the issue. And one of them was Housing Leadership Council of Palm Beach County talked about workforce housing and the lack of it in the county. So just some of the options that they're working with on a Tallahassee level to bring down, and what we can do to make sure that we have workforce housing. Just even with the increase that the teacher salary is, whether they can still afford to purchase a home and live in it in the county.
Did they talk about, in a level of detail, what's the price range considered for it to be a workforce housing?
They were saying, God bless you, they were saying that if you make between $45,000 and $105,000 a year, it's still very difficult.
No, I'm talking about what's the price of the house?
The price of the house is that they're saying is that if that's your income, that it's difficult for you to buy a house, because most pricing is around that $350,000 mark, so it needs to be below that. And that's where it's.
So they're saying the cut point is housing that's on the market for less than $300,000.
Below for $350,000 is what they're.
$350?
$350.
See, the thing I find interesting, all the dialogue and discussions you hear about workforce, we need workforce housing, but there's no specificity on it that says we're going to build a house, it's going to be this big, this wide, this long, and it's going to cost
X
somebody
amount of
to buy
dollars
X amount of
that
dollars.
people can afford, right.
And the way the rules are set up, developers buy themselves out of having to build those workforce.
Right.
So they put money into a pot with the county, but
Right.
what happens then?
And that's one of the things that they
So-
talked about, is that what they have on the county level that's there, and where is it actually going and what is it used for? And that's one of the other sides that they're working on. And what they tied it to as well is another issue that they talked about, were the Palm Beach County impact fees. So on a local level, we have affordable, each municipality has roughly affordable impact fees, but it's the county that is, right.
They're voting on raising their impact fees.
Right.
They tabled it.
So,
Last
yeah.
week, or
So
this
those are the things, and they talked about that in the construction industry, and that you have it. So it's kind of how they had that conversation, and that it was all encompassing in those two parts. The other one is I attended a breakfast where Ken Kennerly from the Honda Classic spoke, and he talked about sports economic impact in Palm Beach County in 2018. And he said in 2018 there were 176 sporting events within the county, which antiquated into 242,000 room nights, which equaled $789 million in revenue,
Wow.
and just from those events.
How'd that compare to the prior year?
Prior years, what they were saying is that it's increased a percentage over the last several years, and we can see is that as the economy changes and people have more disposable income, they're willing to travel more and to stay. And those are some of the issues that the tourism and transportation department was looking at and saying is, how is that going to turn into, we need more hotel rooms, but then how are you going to get people from one to the other? And even just bringing conventions in and things like that.
There's that transportation word again.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, so they're all aware of it, and they all keep talking about it. But one of the things that he said is that there were 4 televised events from the county last year, and one of them being the Winter Equestrian Festival, which is right down the road. So it's neat
The
to see.
FAU Bowl, this especially.
Well, they didn't talk about those so much as like the Honda Classic, the Oasis Championship, and the
Okay,
Delray
Honda
Beach. Now, the FAU game, or not the game, but the bowl down there is televised because it is part of a bowl game.
right.
But as far as individual freestanding events that are specifically in there,
okay.
yeah. So it's neat to see that we have one right down in our backyard, and how that'll influx into economy boost into Royal Palm as well.
We'll see. That it?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I have a request from Senator Powell's office to use one of our facilities for a town hall meeting, January 28th, 29th, or 30th, somewhere in there. I don't have the authority to allow use of facilities without cost. He is wanting to have a town hall meeting. We're not within 6 months of an election, so I think under those guidelines, I think any one of our legislators that are wanting to hold town hall meetings in our town, and it's not a rally, and it's not close to an election,
Right.
that trying to make space available for him to do that, I think would be a good thing. So if the council's in agreement with that, I'll contact his office and work something out.
I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, Senator Powell and House Representative Wilhite did that, but it was under the context of, we hosted them. And if we're going to host them, we would love to do that, to have them come here and have our citizens a chance to participate in that kind of an arrangement. Now, obviously, it's not just open to our citizens, but certainly, our citizens and other area people who want to come should come. And it was a great event. A lot of information was put out. There was a lot of good exchange and interaction. So under that model, I would suggest that that's what we should do this year again. And before we did it up at the sporting complex at Commons Park. And I agree, we set some fundamental ground rules, not when you're in an election cycle 6 months out, because we don't want it to be, it's supposed to be something for the citizens to update them and get information from them. So with that, we need to give a consensus, or we need to take a vote.
Are you going to come back with a policy later on, or?
Well,
We need,
For right
for
now.
that right now, yeah.
For right now, if we could just have, since you are waiving fees, I'd ask that we just do a motion and a second and a vote to waive the fees on the facility. Is it going to be at the cultural center, you said, or
It'd
you're
either be the
not?
cultural center or the sporting center.
Okay.
But we will host them, which means we'll introduce them, and then once
Sure.
that's done, and welcome everyone, and then hand it over to them, and they take it.
And then going forward, my recommendation is the manager would just have a policy
Yeah.
for his office where we would
Move
outline the
forward.
rules, so it's going to be applied fairly going forward. But for tonight, since we are waiving costs, if we could do that by a motion,
All right,
that would be
so-
better.
I'm looking for a motion.
I agree with that, and I'd make a motion to waive the cost for this, but I'd also like a little more discussion about, I mean, and for this purposes, this is in general not specific to this, so I'd
Okay.
like to at least get the motion out of the way first.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. So Diane, I don't know what you list this under, but the motion for waiving the fees, and I want to say us hosting them. Yeah, hosting the town hall, passed 5-0. Okay?
And I'd just like to, and hopefully the manager can come back to us with a policy, but the policy is, or what I'm looking forward is, okay, how far is this going to go? I mean, I get it, we've got our state representative, our state senator, and our
I'm with
state
you.
rep.
Yeah.
But are we going to go to, okay, we're going to go federal, are we going to go extremely local? Can Indian Trail come in and do the same thing? And every other type of entity that represents people here in rural Palm Beach, I don't necessarily know if I want to see
I
things
don't-
get that far.
I agree with you, and
Okay.
I think the parameters should focus on, county level, state level. and-
Legislative.
State legislative, right, the state legislature. And obviously, when they bring that back, we can certainly vet that in more detail. Okay?
Sounds good.
Right.
Are we doing it then just for political purposes versus other organizations? Because now you can open it up
No.
and say is that it's.
No, we're saying not political,
Government.
elected governments. So we have the county government that's elected, and we have the state legislature that's
Right.
elected.
So then other organizations cannot come in and say, here, will you host this and waive the fees so that we can do, that's what I wanted
No,
clarification
yeah,
on.
no, not, right.
Right.
No loopholes.
Kevin.
For educational purposes, correct? Not,
For our citizens, it's a service to our citizens.
yes,
For
but
them to
not,
hear from, because our citizens voted for these representatives and state
Right.
senators.
not as they're campaigning.
Right, no, exactly, yeah, but I think Jennifer's got the gist, and we'll make sure we've got it
And
set
we'll-
right.
We'll draft something up, and what you're saying is the no rally rule is somehow.
The no
we'll-
rally,
We'll
yeah,
get in
no
there.
campaign rule.
And I think we do want to limit it to legislators and, county, state, and federal.
Right.
We don't want the soil
If somebody-
conservation
If a,
group
Right.
where
if the U.S. Congress or U.S. Senator wants to come and talk to our citizens, come on down.
absolutely. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, that it?
That's it.
Jennifer?
I have nothing tonight, thanks. We'll bring that policy back for you in
Okay.
February.
All right, very good. All right, that concludes our reports. At this time, if anyone has a petition to present to the council, now would be the time. I don't see any petitions coming down, so I'm closing acceptance of petitions. Next, we will have statements from the public on non-agenda items or items on a consent agenda. And I have one comment card for a non-agenda item. If we can have Mary Kaminsky come up.
Good evening, Mayor Pitto, Village Manager Liggins, Attorney Ashton, members of the council. I am Mary Kaminsky, and I am chairperson of the Royal Palm Beach Senior Referral Program. And I've come here tonight to give you a report on the progress we've made and to thank all of you and Lou Recchio, Janine, Carmen, and Dolly at the Rec Center for all the help, which includes desk space, phone supplies, and a lot of moral support. Since we began our operation, we've added 11 new volunteers, one of them fluent in Spanish. We have assisted 41 clients as of January 15th with issues ranging from spousal abuse due to Alzheimer's, food stamp applications, a complaint against an assisted living facility, and problems with Medicare and Social Security forms. I have a more detailed report here for all of you on what we've done. The most pressing issue, again, for the third time tonight, would be transportation. Most seniors use the connection. The problem is wait time. While we staff the desk at the rec center, the seniors coming out from lunch sit in the lobby waiting for their ride. Most are still waiting when we leave at 3 o'clock. Lyft and Uber are too expensive for someone on fixed income. So basically, the same problem with transportation that was number one in the beginning is still number one 2 years later. Unfortunately, the partnership with Lyft that the village was negotiating didn't go, was far too expensive. We've had meetings with village manager Liggins, who has been very patient, listening to our ideas on possible solutions, but so far, none of them has been feasible. So we continue to forge ahead, and we look forward to a successful year. And again, we just wanted to thank all of you for your commitment to the senior referral program. And that's it.
Well,
Is it for you?
actually, it's us who would like to thank you, all of you, for volunteering your time and your passion for this. The report that you referenced, turn that over and we'll put that into the record, okay? Just a comment on the transportation issue. We feel the pain on that, we really do. I think, as you know, we've been working, the village manager's been working to try to get our Lyft program.
Right.
The people in question that fall into this category right now, they all 65 or over?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. Way,
just checking.
way over.
I don't want to make any assumptions. But we are still working that. We've got a glimmer of hope of some things that we've heard from, was it Lyft or Uber? Uber.
Yeah.
To try to get them to get their heads around this reality. And we basically said, this is not just Royal Palm Beach. Guys, wake up. This is something on a national level that's very important. And you're going to have more and more local governments looking to step up to do something to help their senior citizen community in this regard. So we haven't given up. I'm not happy that it's taken so long, but it's an interesting process trying to deal with these companies. Sometimes you ask yourself, are there real people there, or is it just the app? I don't know. But anyway, I thanks for that update, and rest assured we are working to try to address that and get that program up and running, and hopefully what you just described is exactly what we wanted to address. Why does it take you 8 hours, to make a 20-minute trip one way and back?
Oh, they sit there and we feel bad.
I know,
and we found out, like, if we wanted to take them home, they'll lose their ride. You can't take them home.
Life is so complicated, right?
Yeah, it's like they put an obstacle right in front of them.
But thank you very much. I don't know, any comments from members on council? No?
Just thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank all of you. We're so glad to hear that this was a really good report, and continue to do the good job and the good work that you're doing. Thank you. Okay. With that, I have no comment cards from anyone else on non-agenda items or consent agenda items, but if anyone else would like to speak, you may have that opportunity now. Seeing none? All right, I'm closing public comment on non-agenda items and on consent agenda items, and I'm going to ask Diane to read this lengthy consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of December 20th, 2018. 2, adoption of resolution 1901, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, authorizing the village to enter into a local agency program agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation concerning the grant of federal funds in the amount of $659,786 for the construction of ADA improvements in the neighborhoods of the Colony and Counterpoint Estates.
Okay, I'd like to have Chris just talk to us about the agenda item, consent agenda item number 2. So I'd like to just pull it for that. And with that said, though, I look for a motion on the consent agenda item number 1.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item number 1 was approved 5-0. It's not often that we get a chance to tell what I call a good story, and believe me, Chris works very diligently at seeking out and getting grants. And a lot of times people ask, well, why is this project taking so long? And one of the reasons is, Chris has got us trained. He's saying, hey, spend other people's money. if we can get
It's all our money, but
well,
we're taking it back. So.
If we can get some grant funding to do some of these projects, the trade-off is it may take a little longer, but we got, we're whole because we're getting funding from the federal government or state level. So Chris, why don't you share with us a little bit about what you did here?
Okay. What this project entails is creating ADA connectivity through the neighborhoods. In the Colony, Counterpoint, Willows, the way that they were designed is the blocks basically were closed circles. So if you were in a wheelchair, or anybody for that matter, trying to utilize the sidewalk in those neighborhoods, you essentially would have to exit through somebody's driveway onto the road, cross the intersection, and then come back in through somebody's driveway to get back onto the sidewalk. So this will make continuous connections through those neighborhoods. So it's a whole bunch of about 80 short 16-foot segments that we're going to add to make those paths accessible and safer, where when they are crossing at the intersection, it'll be behind a stop sign, and obviously make it safer and actually make it an ADA accessible, because the driveways typically are not, because the slopes are too steep. So that's essentially what this is. It's just a whole bunch of these connections, and it covers all of Counterpoint, a portion of the Willows, and the entire Colony. So,
Okay.
and it's about $1 million project, of which we're getting $659,000 from the TPA. So
That's pretty good. Any comments from members of the council? Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Just wanted to give you a chance to share that with us. If there are no comments from members on council, we'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular or consent agenda item number 2, please. Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item was approved, 5-0. With that, we have no regular agenda items this evening. So with no further business before us this evening, we stand adjourned.